So, liberals got their panties in a knot because someone by the name of Andrea Tantaros said this.
And Kennedy, women have been encouraged to give it up, as Harris talks about, freely with the rise of feminism, have sex like a man. So they're doing this, and they're not making the guy step up to put a ring on it.
Now, I don't know who Andrea is. Apparently, she's a news reporter on Fox News. But I am making this video. This video is prefaced to 3 upcoming video responses that are about to come out that I made. And so, obviously, I have made the video responses. Well, I have made 2 out of 3 of the video responses as I'm making this video. And so I'm going to upload this video first, obviously. As you can see, this is up first. And the focus is going to be sex-positive feminism because, I've been meaning to talk about it every now and again, but now I think is a good time as I preface that before the video responses come out. So, sex-positive feminism. I'm going to try to represent sex-positive feminism as best as I can. Now, of course, if you've been subscribed to this channel for a prolonged period of time, you know I'm not a big fan of feminism. I think feminism is Marxism in disguise, and it does nothing but give misery to everyone involved. Nobody involved in feminism is a happy person. Feminism makes everybody's life miserable, all under the guise of equality for women, when really it's a movement for female supremacy, and it's just Marxism in the guise of equality. So that's pretty much my opinion on feminism. So sex-positive feminism obviously doesn't really seem to be too fantastic to me just because it's feminism. But as I say before, I don't dislike any feminists for being a feminist. I mean, I dislike them for their actions and the way that they treat men and women. So when I think about sex-positive feminism, it is always confused the dog shit out of me. And the reason why is because nobody really has a negative opinion on sex, so how can you really be sex positive? I mean, ain't most people sex positive, right? So before we jump back, we're going to jump back to what I just said. So before, let's define sex positive feminism so we all understand what we're talking about. So as far as I understand it, sex positive feminism is trying to make sex, or trying to make the culture see sex as a healthy, positive thing for people to simply go out and explore, and there should be no negative ramifications, no negative social ramifications for people who decide to do this life path. Now, just for a little bit of that clarification, we're going to take a look at Wikipedia. The sex-positive movement is a social movement which promotes and embraces sexuality with few limits beyond the emphasis on safe sex and the importance of consent. Sex positivity is an attitude towards sexuality that regards all consensual sexual activities as fundamentally healthy and pleasurable, and encourages sexual pleasure and experimentation. The sex positive movement is a social and philosophical movement that advocates these attitudes. The sex positive movement advocates sex education and safer sex as part of its campaign. The movement generally makes no moral distinction among types of sexual activities, regarding these choices as matters of personal preference. Now, of course, to the sensible person, you would understand that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. There is nothing you can fucking do that doesn't have some level of consequence to it. Nothing. Everything has a consequence to it. So to the rational person, or to the person who's sensible, you would hear that definition of sex-positive feminism, and you would know that just due to the laws of physics and the laws of reality, there's no way you can do anything without there being some type of repercussion or some type of consequence to it. So again, sex-positive feminism from that point makes no sense to me, because it seems strange to me that sex-positive feminists want to make casual sex or just exploring your sexuality just an incredibly wonderful, fantastic thing, and there's no repercussions to it. But there very clearly are repercussions to it, especially if you don't have safe sex. I mean, a lot of them love to say that safe sex is fantastic and you just use contraceptive and that'd be great. However, we know that a lot of people, especially out in the black community, are not having safe sex. And there are lots of different abortions going on, and you would know my position on abortion, and there are lots of children growing up without fathers. There are lots of, women having to raise kids on their own. Well, a reiteration of what I just said, but hopefully you get my point here, and that there are consequences to being promiscuous. Too much of anything is a bad thing. And again, the sensible person would see that and be like, well, duh, but I have actually had sex-positive feminists come to my channel and will argue that there's no negative repercussions for what you do. But I mean, like, bro, have you seen the Maury Povich show? Have you not seen the lie detector test? Have you not seen the paternity test? I mean, come on, like, there's reasons, there's, I mean, again, so when it comes to that, like the sex-positive feminists, it seems like they don't want to acknowledge that there are negative repercussions, to promiscuity and the so-called exploring your sexuality and all that. Now, I always say that you can do whatever you want to do, it just doesn't make it a good idea. And there's so many of these sex-positive feminists will say, you're trying to take away women's right to express their sexuality, and I'm always like, dude, I just told you, you can do whatever you want to do. That just doesn't make it a good idea. And yet they still think that I somehow hate women because I don't want them to get emotionally damaged through their promiscuous actions. Which makes no sense. I mean, how do I hate women when I want to prevent them from being damaged? I don't know. Now, to briefly go back over what I was saying earlier, nobody really has a negative outlook on sex. I mean, now, again, if you've been subscribing for a while, one of my favorite people on here is Davis Arini, right? Okay, a lot of people like to claim that Davis Arini is misogynistic because he berates sluts and saying that he's annoyed with them, and I'm kind of with him on that one. But if you listen to how Davis Arini describes sexual activity, he thinks of it as something that is beautiful, something that's wonderful and very intimate, nothing negative. It kind of seems to me that even if you want to go all the way back to the Puritans, right? Like a lot of people like to say that the Puritans were really like distasteful, really hated sexuality and all that. But if you really pay attention to the Puritans, what the Puritans really disliked was promiscuity and adultery. That's what the Puritans were against. The Puritans weren't against having sex because, I mean, if they were, there wouldn't be any Puritans to talk about. So that's the thing that gets me about sex-positive feminism, is no one really has a negative opinion on sex. And the thing that gets me about some of these sex-positive feminists is they seem to think that if you only have sex with one person, then apparently your life is really sad, or that's not a fantastic thing. Now, some liberals I've seen said this, and it's coming up in a video response soon, so you'll see why I say this. But some of them say that it's really sad that you get one person to have sex with, and that's your whole experience. And me personally, like, look, honestly, if I got one woman to have sex with me, I wouldn't be mad with that. I would love that. I would love to be able to have one woman that I get to have sex with. Okay, like I can be content with one woman having sex with me on a regular basis. Fuck, I can only have sex with a woman twice and get my 2 children and we'll be alright. Like, sex, it feels good. I mean, I've never had it, but I imagine it feels good. But I don't need it. I will be alright. I just want a family, so I mean, I need to have sex for that. And even then, there's adoption, so I mean, I can be alright without it. But again, the liberals really say, or a lot of people will say, that's terrible, that you only have sex with one person. And then I realized something. And what I realized is that sex-positive feminism, the sex-positive movement, it isn't about so much as looking at sex as a positive thing. It's more about looking at promiscuity as a great thing. Because remember, as I said at the beginning of this clip, when Davis Arini describes sex with a person or with 2 people, he describes it as a loving interaction between 2 people. And you can't get any more positive than that. So, if Davis Arini is saying a monogamous relationship can be beautiful, and a lot of the liberals are saying that, well, having sex with one person is sad, what they're really saying is, in so facto, that promiscuity is a positive thing. Look at the slut-shaming movement. they're saying continuously that you shouldn't shame someone for expressing their sexuality. But I'm always like, well, and being a slut is point of fact. And then I also say that if you weren't ashamed about being a slut, then being called a slut wouldn't bother you, which really shows your insecurities when revolving around that word. But I'm going to have to discuss that in future slut-shaming videos. So again, sex positivity is really more promiscuity positivity. It's not about sex, because again, I view sex as a wonderful thing between two people, and I would be perfectly fine with having sex with one person for the rest of my life. So again, I don't view sex as a negative thing. I understand that anything in excess is a bad thing, and that's something a lot of sex positive feminists just don't seem to grasp. Which leads me to my final thing when it comes to sex positive feminists, and this is really more with the females, or the women who are sex positive feminists or females, and that is they have a grotesque ignorance when it comes to the way men think about sex. Now, to be fair, a lot of feminists don't like men, and they're really selfish and narcissistic and self-centered. This isn't all feminists, so don't bitch at me. But a lot of women, a lot of feminists, and women really don't think about how men relate to sex, or how men even obtain sex, really. And so a lot of them often have remarkable levels of ignorance when it comes to how men view women who are sluts, or how men view women who don't have lots of sexual partners. And so oftentimes when I hear these sex positive feminists talk about the way men relate to sex, again, I'm just like, this is nonsense. So to give you guys an example of what I'm talking about, who fully encapsulates what I'm saying, is an upcoming clip to a video response to Jacqueline Glenn. So I'm going to let the clip roll, and don't worry, you will be seeing that clip again in the future. Go ahead.
Getting sex for a man is hard, hence the respect given. Women getting sex is easy, hence the lack of respect. If your wife was a whore, would you trust the kids are yours? Okay, none of it makes sense, but I'm just going to address that last part first. If your wife was a whore, okay, first of all, if you're married, there's a certain commitment and monogamy that might be expected in that situation. So if you're not supposed to be sleeping with other people and you are, that's a whole different situation.
Jacqueline, it was right there. It was right there, Jacqueline. It was right in your face. All you had to do was grab it. It was there. It was right there, Jacqueline. Right there. All you had to do was pick it up and say, oh shit, I understand it now. Right over your fucking head. Just.
But if you're married and you're having kids and you're monogamous, they're probably your kids, and guess what? There's some medical tests that you can always do to prove that if you have any questions, so I don't get his issue.
Because you're a dumbass, Jacqueline. Because you're a dumbass. That's why you don't get it. So, yeah. That's the preface to sex positive feminism. Probably going to be talking about it in detail, a little more in the future. But that's just the foundation of the next couple of video responses that will be coming out in the future. So, if you watch this video after those video responses come out, it's just going to leave you guys links here so you can just, go to it. So if you click here, this should lead you to the video response to the Young Turks. You click right here, this should lead you to the video response to the Jacqueline Glenn video I was talking about. And if you click here, this should lead you to the response to Secular Voice. So, yeah. Why are you still here? I think they're waiting for you to sign off. Oh, right. Good call there. So, as always, if you liked today's video, please go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, have a great day. I will see you cool cats soon. Adios.